Get a Job in Tech, episode 124. In this episode, I want to tell you what I do for my social media, all my social media stuff. How do I do it? How do I get into it, and how do I get involved and all that stuff, right? All right. So it's 2015. 2016, sorry. Robert tells me, a friend of mine, Robert, he tells me about this video called 6 Minutes for the Next 60 Years. Gary Vee. Listened to it, downloaded it, didn't really pay attention, right? Goes by 2017, I think, something like that, September. For some reason, I start listening to podcasts. And I listened to one that is entrepreneur, right? It was EntreLeadership. So it was like a little bit of Dave Ramsey, probably. It was Dave Ramsey show. And then it was listen to EntreLeadership, then Entrepreneur on Fire with John Lee Dumas. Then probably 2018 April, right? So I'm driving to Ohio for my job, and Gary Vee comes on the, I'm listening to Gary Vee's, I'm just listening while I'm driving. I'm listening to his video he put out. In there, he talks about Anchor, and he says Anchor is the podcast tool for free. You can have your own podcast for free. I said, oh, okay. That night I put up a podcast. That night, that's the very first one I put up, actually, was like in April of 2018, something like that. Go a little further. Right after that, I started my course. I created a course in Udemy. So I created some videos on YouTube, right? Obviously, sort of Cobalt. Then I just decided to create a course in Udemy because I was already watching a couple of videos on Udemy, a couple courses. I had a couple courses watching them. So let me create my own. Why not? So I did that. That took me probably 2 months or so, a little more than 2 months of time to create that course, that first course. Now, we have to back up a little bit, actually, because in March of 2018, I wrote my first book. It was an ebook. It was like, it's online. You can go to Amazon there. It's an ebook. That's my first book. It was what's the book called? Interview and Job Search Strategies at Work. That's the name of the book, actually. That was my first book. Fast forward a little bit. Now we're up to August, I think. So I get paid. My first paycheck comes from Udemy, right? Now, there's a critical podcast to listen to between the time it took me from not having any podcast to having a podcast, and that podcast that I listened to was Shane Sams from the Flip Lifestyle podcast. And I had heard them on Entrepreneur on Fire, which is John Lee Dumas's podcast. And so I was searching for them. Who's Flip Lifestyle? I went to Flip Lifestyle. And in the Flip Lifestyle podcast, Shane Sam talked. He said, "You're expert enough. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're expert enough. You know something somebody else doesn't know. It doesn't matter they knew everything. Nobody cares. They just care. Hey, I just need that knowledge that you have, that little nugget of information that you have. I want that. That's it right there. That's really it." And once he said that, I was like, yeah, okay, I get that. So it pushed me forward to obviously creating my content, my course. So again, Gary Vee told me, it pushed me through to get a podcast, and Shane Sam from Flip Lifestyle pushed me to make my own course on Udemy. Okay, now go a little further than that, and it was probably 2019, I think it was, when I said, okay, enough of this. Let's just start creating. Let me just start posting, right? So I started. They were talking about TikTok. It was probably October, I think, or November of last year. They started talking about, I heard about TikTok, and so okay, fine, I'll just post. I started posting a couple things, right? And then in January, first, a little before that, actually, I posted every day on social media, like one on TikTok, at least one on TikTok, right? Every day. And just, in fact, just yesterday, actually, I stopped posting on TikTok. That was my last post on TikTok. And, but I'm continuing on, Instagram and all that. So let me tell you what I do for let me start with the course, right? How do I create a course? Okay, you may ask yourself, how do you create a course? How can I create a course, right? Let me tell you, human individual out there. Okay, you have an idea in your head. The first thing is to create something free, meaning you pay the cost. Don't say free pay, you're covering the cost. I'm covering the cost of the course, Okay. A 1 hour course, 1 hour, whatever it is that you create, content that you create, goes like this. Let's take, for example, something low level, right? Low level. Getting a job in the post office. Let's just say that. Why not? Let's say getting a job in the post office. Okay. For example, right? And it's in 1 hour. So how do you break that up? So the front and back so the first part of so you break it up into 10 sections, okay? Each section is 6 minutes, okay? So the first section, 6 minutes long, done. That first section is 6 minutes. That is when you talk. You tell people about you, who you are, what do you do, your social media, why are you creating this course, your experience, your relevancy in this course, right? Okay. Now focus on the back end. So the back part of the course, the last 6 minutes, if you will, right? That's the one where you're going to sell or you're going to promote your new product. For instance, a PDF, a PDF or a document or something you created, right? That's the other 6 minutes. You can tell them about your social media. You can tell them about how to find you in 6 minutes time. Now, how do you create both of those, right? Okay. You record all of this in either, you can record it with using Open Broadcast Studio, OBS, Open Broadcast Studio, and you edit it with using, there's a lot of other tools out there, but I use Premiere Pro, Adobe Premiere Pro. You may have something different that you use, but I use Adobe Premiere Pro. Okay. And I pay $60 a month, right? I said, okay, enough of that. Because I saw a lot of creators using those tools. I said, okay, let me go ahead and invest. I had made money on my course every month to cover that cost. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll just use that. So I downloaded Adobe Cloud Create. I paid $60 a month. I get all those tools, which is nice. I had to learn how to use it, right? I had to YouTube how to learn it. Anyway, so that's how I edit my videos. You can find something different for you, if you wanted to. I think Windows has their own built-in one, movie editor or whatever. I don't use it. Anyway, I use it to Premiere Pro. Okay, so that's how you edit the videos, right? So how do you create them? You can use a screen capture tool, which is Open Broadcast Studio, or you can just do SlideShare. You can go to Google and create like a document or a PowerPoint, if you will, right? And then use Open Broadcast to capture the screen of what you're talking about, and then record using like a headset. A good headset, the headset I have, right, is an A10, so it's a Astro A10 I bought from Walmart for $60. That's what I'm recording on right now, actually. And that's what I use to record my audio. Okay, so that takes care of the audio, takes care of the recording stuff, right? So let's focus on the content, right? So you have the front end, back end done. Okay, the middle portion is, what is that? So that's 8. So that's 8 6-minute segments, right? So you have 8 pieces of, so you have 8 things you have to tell people how to do. Step 1, 6 minutes long. Do this. For example, I'll give you an example. Post office, you want to work in a post office. Step 1, find out what you want to make per year. Research, meaning research every post office where you're at and spend a couple of minutes showing people how to go on the internet, so searching for a job specific to working in a post office. That's step one. Maybe that's 6 minutes. It takes you 6 minutes to do it, right? The second one is, the second video can be how to set yourself up, meaning how to go on LinkedIn and find people, individuals that are post office workers and connect with them. What are the tips and tricks? What, etc. How to find your peers, right? In that field. Third one could be how to, what skills do you need? What forms do you need to fill out to get this job? There's a government job, so you have to fill some different forms out, right? So that's 3. Number 4 could be an inventory of what skills you have currently, comparatively to that. So, for instance, you might say in this course, do a pros and cons, right? And tell the individual, the reader, whoever viewing your content, is the pros and cons. Pros are if you're, it's a full-time job, it's a stable job, right? The cons are you work 5 days a week, you work weekends sometimes. Those could be the cons. And you're just giving the reader, the person viewing the content, some examples of the type of job it is, if you know about it, right? Or how to get the job. So that's 4. 5 and 6, 7 and 8, that's 4 more. So you make up the difference yourself. So now you have 4 of the pieces of content that you create yourself on how to get a job in the post office. Something could be as far as reviews, going over reviews of a person working there 20 years. Maybe that's number 5. Then 6 could be something like, what are the perks, the benefits of working in the post office? Number 7 could be, what type of what promotions are there? I mean, you already have the benefits. Now you got promotions. How fast can you be promoted in 20 years, right? That's number 7. And then number 8 is what could you expect to get paid when you retire? When you're a post office worker, how much do you need to save for X amount of dollars to retire on, etc. Right? Okay. So what do we have? We have the front end, the back end, then we have the 8 pieces in between. The 8 6-minute videos that you create. Okay. That's how I actually create content myself. So that's an hour long. You create the content, you put it on Udemy, you put it on Teachable, you put it on LinkedIn, you put it on anywhere, any provider, but Teachable is the easiest one. And Udemy, my videos have to be, 1080, I think, by 1080 by 1280 by 720. I forget what it is, but I know it has to be a certain aspect ratio, right, for the video. I believe it's 1080. I think 1080p. I think, right? It has to be 1080 by 720. I believe that's what it is. I might be mistaken on that. At any rate, so you can find out on Udemy, right? And you can, when you create a course, you'll know. And if you happen to create a course that isn't that, that aspect, you can go. There's plenty of tools online. You can do online resizing of your videos, meaning it'll make it a larger video platform, or larger aspect ratio. That's what I did for my first course, actually. My videos that I put on YouTube weren't big enough, meaning the aspect ratio didn't meet the standard of Udemy. So I had to go online. I just Googled how to increase the aspect ratio, or how to increase my video from whatever it was to whatever, I think it was 1020, whatever. And then I found a online thing, I put it in there, and it created it, exported it, done. Really easy for that. Okay, that takes care of the video portion, right? Now, creating the content, something to give to people, okay? Leaving them with something nice. I use a program called Canva, Canva.com. Canva, I can create a PDF, I can create poster boards, I can create GIF, I can create pictures, images, anything really, right? It has all kinds of nice little things that I can create in there. I use a program called Pixels. Its website, pexels.com. That one I can get free videos, stock images for videos that I can use to upload my content. You've probably seen them sometimes. If you go to Canva and you see somebody's content, you'll see these things that happen. Or you'll see like the content will come about and say, oh, I recognize that. I saw that in Canva. I saw that in Pexels. Okay, yeah. Okay. Now, the sound, you can go to, for YouTube only, right? You can go to youtube.com and there's a sound. I use the sound studio for that, or what do they call it? It's free audio that's copyright free. You want to use copyright free audio, right? But for my YouTube videos, I use that. I'll use audio. YouTube's recognized copyright free audio. I'll use that for my videos. Okay. Now let's talk about the time dedicated to this, right? Okay. I use a program called freshbooks.com. And in FreshBooks, actually what I do is I actually keep track of the amount of time it takes for me to do these things. So for instance, I'll do if I do posts every day, which I do, I'll keep track of how many minutes it takes me to do that in freshbooks.com. And it just keeps track of, it's just nice for me to track of what I do, the hours I take, because if not, you get lost in, I want to have an idea of, okay, it takes me to do this much time to do this. Okay. So now when if ever, right, a customer says, hey, can you do this for me? And they'll say like, well, how much time does it take you to do it? And I'll say, I don't know. The customer's like, right, bye. So rather than I have an idea of how long it takes me to do something. So that's why I keep it in FreshBooks, actually. I keep track of how long it takes me to do per day. Could be a minute, right? But I put that in there. It takes me 8 minutes to do this or whatever. And the platforms I use, right, are, so for my Instagram and my Facebook, my video, my core, my group, right? It's Get a Job in Tech. Actually, I use Facebook Creator Studio for that. You can also use Instagram, so you can post videos on your computer using that Facebook Creator Studio. I also use TweetDeck. TweetDeck is the way that you can schedule your videos. You schedule your Instagram, the Twitter, your tweets out. You can use TweetDeck for that. Of course, I use Anchor. You know what I'm on that now, right, for my podcast. I use Instagram for my social media, of course. I use Snapchat. I use Pinterest. I use GitHub. I use YouTube. So I have a YouTube channel, Gary McNeely IT. You look at me there. Or my other one is Commvault Whisperer. And I used to use TikTok, of course. I also have a WordPress site. So we go to WordPress.com. You can create your own WordPress site, and they make it very easy for you, even if you don't know. And guess what? If you don't know, you can learn. That's really it right there. What do you do? I also have a GitHub site. So early on, I listen to a lot of these videos, a lot of these tech channels, and they always talk about having a GitHub site, which is good. It's okay. I got one, right? I created my own. And of course, there's several other things, right? Like kit.com, or is it kit.co? I have one of those, which is like a kit you put together. Could be like, in my case, it's my courses. Kit.co, KIT.co. I was also a Patreon account. I have a Patreon account, right, for that. So meaning like you can buy a course, or again, it's a course, right, that I created that pushes for that content. I also have a teachable.com. So it's getajobinit.teachable.com. And in there you can buy my course, as well as Udemy, udemy.com. You can buy my course as well. How I talk and how I target the students, my avatar, right? My avatar. What's my avatar? So my target market, if you will, right, is this. My target market is this. Someone who's out of college, out of high school, doesn't know what they want to do. They're like 17, 20, whatever, right? Maybe they're 30, 40, whatever, 50, 60, 80, whatever. Usually, though, it's usually 17 to 25 or 17 to 30, right? Can be. They don't know what they want to do. They worked at a factory before. They worked at McDonald's. It's not really fulfilling for them. And they just want to have freedom, right? You know, a lot of this stuff is about freedom. Money, right? You have money, you have freedom. Okay? Yeah, I get it. You know, oh, I want to be happy and have. I get all that, right? Yeah. But if you have money, you can do those things you want to do. Okay? If you work at McDonald's, right? And you're 52% of the people that work at McDonald's, guess what? Or, you know, in general, fast food, guess what? They're on the dole. They're on the government dole. You don't want to do that all your life, right? You don't want to be 30 years old still on the government dole because you're still working at McDonald's or some other fast food place making $15 an hour. What is that? It's not a life for anybody. Those types of jobs are meant for more like a segue job. They're not meant for like careers, right? You know, working in a fast food place as a worker bee, that's not a career. No. If you're a manager, I guess, right? You know, but that's different. You're a manager. You went to Heidelberg University and you do all that stuff. But like a 9-to-5er, you know, making $9 an hour, $10, $15 an hour, and you're 50 years old, you know, or 60 years old. What is that, right? Working at Walmart, 60 years old, 50 years old, 30 years old, making $15 an hour. That's the most you've ever made. No, there's more to life. There's more to life than that. Really, there is. Really, there is. And you know, I'll tell you, it's most of it's in your own head, right? Okay, just like me, I know it's in my own head too. Really, the reason I'm not a billionaire or whatever multimillionaire is because it's in my head. I haven't either figured out how to do it, or haven't listened to enough people, or I haven't believed enough people. That's really what it is, right? I haven't. They've told me through these podcasts, but I still don't believe them yet, right? I still haven't taken that step. I still haven't done it, you know. Still haven't, you know, taken that step. And that's where that's at, you know. And I think that's everybody, really. That's really everybody, I think, really, right? You know, freedom, man, freedom. Who doesn't want to have freedom from a job? You know, you can, on a Monday. What would it be? You know, I've worked, so I've not had a job before for like a couple of months, and it was great. It was glorious. But you know, I still needed to pay bills, of course. But imagine what would be nice, right? Just imagine for a second, right? Let's just imagine this, right? So here's my goal, right? Here's what I want. Let's say, right? Here's what I'd like to have for me. I would like to have enough money to where I can just travel and I can put out content and individuals pay me money every month. You know, they like my content enough where they pay for it. They see that I have value in what I'm talking about or what I'm showing them or what I'm telling them about them, right? You see the difference with me, right? I'll tell you the difference between me and, you know, I like to tell you how you can do it. I want to tell you how to do it, right? I've listened to a lot of podcasts and like, oh yeah, you can do it. I get it that you can do it. Yes, you can, right? We all can do it. I get it, right? But how? How do you do it? Just can you give me one step, right? Just give me one step. And the step here is just to create a piece of content, meaning what I just laid out before. I gave you the guidelines. It's 1 hour long. It's choose a topic, right? It's 6 minutes, 6 minutes in, front end, 6 minutes back in the middle, it's 8 6-minute segments. And these are just, you know, labeled step 1 through step 8, let's say, and you create it. And I gave you some, I can't give you the idea. I don't know what to tell you what to talk about, right? Because that's only you know. I don't know. I don't know what you like. I talk about IT. I talk about tech because that's what I do. You have something else you talk about, I would say, right? If you talk about tech, great. Talk about that. And it doesn't matter if other people do the same thing you do. Nobody cares. Really, nobody cares. There's other channels out there that do the exact same thing I do. A lot of channels out there. But it doesn't matter. Nobody cares because maybe they don't resonate. Guess what? I was an overseas contractor. Wow, look at that. They weren't, right? I've lived in other countries. They haven't, right? Look at that. I can tell you about living in other countries. I can tell you what it's like to live in these other countries. What are the things that you need to do beforehand? What is it? What can you expect to get paid? What's the lifestyle like? Some of these people can't. They don't know. Never been overseas. They don't know. They don't have friends overseas and never lived there. So they can't tell you. So in that small little niche, if you will, that I'm better than them in that regard, right? Yeah, I'm better than them because I know, firsthand experience from doing that. They haven't, right? And that's fine. But that's me. That's how I'm different, right? In that aspect. Same with you. You have a skill that you're better at somebody else in. You know more about, or you know a different aspect of it. You know a different angle to it. You understand it differently, right? And it could be anything. It really could be anything. Just have to think about it, right? I guess there's a way to do it. And I guess the idea generator, right, if you will. So if you write down, if you say, okay, I want to know what am I good at? I don't know what you're good at. Write it down. I'm good at this. I'm good at that. And then just cross off one of those things. Okay, I could do that. Yeah, I'm really good at that. And something you're passionate about. Oh, I love doing that, right? And just create a free course on it. Free. Done. So when you go for a job interview, right? Companies, they'll say, oh, what do you have, right? When you have a free course, right? They don't have to know that the people aren't paying for it. All they have to know is you have something. You might say, oh, you created something, let's say, right? And you have 20,000 people, 20,000 students, let's say, right? You say, wow, 20,000. Oh my gosh, 20,000 students? Oh, yeah, 20,000. Yeah. Oh, yeah, 20,000. Yeah. And they're like, oh, wow, that's amazing, right? Wow, that's amazing. So what you've done, if you essentially identified that you are an expert in that field, somebody else, this is, again, some mindset. Somebody else is going to say, oh, if you tell somebody else or you talk to somebody else like who knows more about it, they're like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to critique your project. Right? If you show them your course, they're going to critique it, or maybe not. And if they do, it's fine too. Guess why? Because they don't have a course, man. They don't have a course. They don't have a course. It doesn't matter. Their content is in their brain. Okay? It's stuck in their brain. Nobody knows who they are. They've not told the world, announced to the world, hey, here I am. Here's the value I bring to the table. No, they're at their job, right? With their knowledge, behind the desk. It's in their brain. Maybe they share it with other people, like 10 people, let's say, right? But I'm talking about you're creating content for people that are never going to, you won't even know who they are. You're not going to know who they are. You're going to create content for those individuals. There's 7 billion people in the world, right? Okay, conservatively. Now, if you speak another language, you have an advantage as well. I can speak a little. I mean, when I say a little bit, I mean like 100 words in some languages, right? Let's be truthful with that one. But if you can speak another language, you have an advantage that I don't, because you can speak to a different segment of the population that I can't. And those 7 billion people it's less now. They have tools, of course. Udemy and Teachable has, or Udemy does anyway. They have this where they translates into different languages. And so in that regard, yes. But if you can create a course you have 2 different languages, let's say you speak English, let's say Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, Hindi, French. Okay, you speak those German, you speak those lingos, right? Wow, your market is good because you can speak all those dialects or languages, and now you can target that target market, right, for you, which other people can't because they don't use it as advantage, right? You may, don't think of it like, oh, it's your English is not good. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Take the advantage you have and say, I have the advantage because I speak this lingo, and then talk to that. But you got to figure out, if you're in the States, you're in America, and you are from another country, right? Let's say, okay, and you're sharing your knowledge with other people, other individuals. They're going to say, "Whoa, thank you," especially if it's in their native tongue, or they don't have to think about it. And now you're like an authority to them. You're like, "Oh, you're teaching me something, right?" Now you're a mentor, if you will, to them, a virtual mentor, if you will. And that's really going to do well, because they're going to tell other people, and sure enough, look at that. You're going to have 20,000 customers, 20,000 subscribers, 20,000 people that sign up to your course. Perfect. That's nice. That's fantastic. You don't get money. You won't get money from this within the first, it's going to be a while, right? Let's be honest, right? It may not be. It may be instant for you. Who knows? I don't know the algorithm. I don't have the magical wand, genie, whatever it is, where you rub the lamp and the genie comes out and there's like, here you go. Here's the algorithm or the magical thing to do, right? I do know this much. When posting on YouTube, it's usually 10 minutes long, usually what they recommend, 10 minutes long, and it's at least 3 times a week, right? And then thumbnails. So in the thumbnails, here again, Canva, Canva.com, you can create thumbnails. Thumbnail is like you go to YouTube and you see that image. Well, that's the thumbnail. So you can go to canva.com, Canva.com, and you can use that to create thumbnails, for your video. And what do you call it? Description. So description is very big, and then like the hashtags, right, or the tags, if you will, for the video, like Alexa or Commvault, right? That could be a tag for your video, and then people are it'll show up in their search, right? And then if they like it, oh, so cool, yeah, and then they, would go to your video and they'll like it and subscribe, whatever, right? And so that's YouTube, right? Instagram, I'm not really sure about. Facebook, I know it's a if you have a group, that's really good, something good to have. And I know there's other platforms out there like Vimeo, and there is Dailymotion. I used to have Dailymotion. I don't have one of those anymore. And I have a Vimeo, I think, Vimeo account. And it's a pay for play, so I don't want to use it, right? And I haven't made a lot of money actually doing this whole social media thing, and I like doing it, right? I like doing this, right? And not that I wouldn't like to make money, sure, right? But I know it's a marathon, because I know a lot of individuals who, I know people will do this, right? This is human nature. They'll get somewhere and they'll do it for like 40 days, right? And they'll quit. Oh, that's not enough. Okay. But they won't go 2 years or a year doing this. No, they won't. They'll say, okay, enough of that, right? No, enough of that. For 40 days, they're just going to stop doing it. They're not going to do it consistently. No, not after 40 days. No way. Unless they're really dedicated to it, right? And that's fine. That means there's less competition for yours truly, me. Because if they're not doing it, they're not creating content, that means people are going to forget about them. And I'm creating content every day, so hey, look at me, right? And then, the algorithms, I think, are going to favor individuals who put content every day, or consistently putting content, if you will, versus like one post every month or every year, right? Let's say for some, you look at some Twitter, right? Some Twitter feeds or Twitter accounts, and they're like some companies do it like once a year. They'll tweet out like some of the companies are like, last post was like 2019, and you're like, you're a company, right? You gotta stay more relevant to that. And otherwise, people won't know who you are. They'll forget about you. Yeah, that's really good. So if you have any questions about any of this stuff, I am open to, say, a 15-minute call, meaning it's a Zoom call, and there'll be a link to the Calendly, right? It's a Calendly where you sign up, and we do a 15-minute I just go over what you want, 15 minutes. And the reason I do this is because A, I'm able to get content that helps the channel, the Anchor channel, the podcast. And B, I'm helping another individual. Because the goal here, right, is to help other people become financially free. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to get rich, right? Meaning I'm talking about set in motion, a skill set, an IT skill set, if you will, get a job in tech, to where you can have a sustainable income, to where you can, hang up that, stop flipping burgers anymore. Stop working at McDonald's or whatever. Let's get a job in tech where it's nice. You start off at, 9, well, you're more than that. You start off like 15 and you go up from there. And, a year from now, you're going to say, wow, that's the best decision I ever made, ever. Thank you so much. So if you like all this, here's where you follow me or you find information about me, right? Basically, it's GaryMcNeelyIT.com. On Instagram, it's Gary McNeely IT. On Facebook, it's I have YouTube or a group. It's Get a Job in Tech. On YouTube, it's just Gary McNeely. And the other one on YouTube is Commvault Whisperer. I'm also on LinkedIn. This is Gary McNeely on LinkedIn there. And I'm also on the Twitter, Gary McNeely IT. And yeah, so that's it. Thanks everybody for listening to this podcast. Please, put a review about this podcast. If you're on Apple Podcast or whatever podcast, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, put a review of this podcast, and please share this podcast with other people who are looking for the same type of skill set, and that you think they need this knowledge. And have yourself a great day.